start asking some questions, because we do have a few minutes to kill while people go through picks and bans. We generally do not commentate on it until they're all finished, because there's then a 3-minute delay before we can actually get into game. So yeah, if you have any questions at all, giveaway related, stream related, workshop related, whatever questions you have, feel free to ask them now, and we'll try and get to all of them.
Girl, you don't have to worry about being late. In fact, you are right on time. You missed the first game, but we'll do lots of games throughout the night, so just stick around.
Hey, so Resi has a question here. Any shifts in the meta with a 4.7 patch besides the Feral Flare nerfs? Honestly, all it really changed is what people are banning. Because it used to be you'd pretty much ban 5 or 6 junglers every time, and that's not really the case anymore. There's a little bit of a shift back towards Lee Sin jungle, I feel, because he was strong before, but honestly, bans really haven't changed that much besides not having to deal with all the Feral Flare junglers. Jax is still a very strong ban. People are sort of starting to ban out some mid laners again with the Soraka, Lulu, LeBlanc, Kayle, Ziggs. Like there's a lot of good mid laners right now, and a lot of them are just super annoying. So people are starting to push bans back towards either supports, mids, or a couple top laners, mostly just Jax.
They also went ahead and changed it so you can use trinkets early game now instead of having to wait for, 2 minutes?
Yes.
So now you can invade a little more, you can give vision in the jungle to prevent invades. So there's, you have more tools to stop invasions and protect your jungler early game.
For sure. I mean, that is a definite shift. That being said, a lot of people don't do it in solo queue. I mean, it's hard enough to get them to ward in the first place, so it hasn't really shifted that much. I mean, all the changes were pretty minor. I'm actually really happy, though, they finally cut down on Cassidon a little bit. That patch was just ridiculous. For those who didn't know, they buffed the crap out of his Q scaling. So you would just put 1 point in Q, max all of his other skills, and you'd absorb like entire combos with your Q's magic damage shield. It was absolutely ridiculous.
So, Pure Shadows is asking, what is the strongest champion in the league or the strongest role? If you look purely at win rate, I believe Soraka, Warwick are up there, but Kayle has the highest win rate at 55%.
Yeah, Kayle's been ridiculous for a while. Every time they nerf her, everyone's like, GG, can't play her anymore, she's worthless. And then she still maintains like #1 or at least top 5 win rate in high elo, and even in mid elo. She's such a strong champion, and she does well versus a lot of the stronger picks. Especially with obviously Feral Flare is nerfed now, but when Feral Flare junglers were so strong, those are carry junglers. So being able to just stop someone from being one-shot, just boom, comboed, and you're out of the fight, being able to stop that in solo queue is absolutely a phenomenal strength. But yeah, honestly, there is never going to be a strongest role or a strongest champion. There are a group of champions who are quote-unquote OP, which just means either they're top in their role, or they're essentially bullying out all other picks. Where Renekton for a long time was OP. He was like the best top laner because you can't play anything else. If you play anything else, you're literally there just trying to survive lane. That's shifted a little bit with his minor love taps. He's still a strong champion, but I would not consider him OP anymore. He's just a strong pick. Same thing with like when Cassidon was strong. A very, very strong pick, but that doesn't mean you're going to win every game with him. Honestly, play towards your own strengths and the play style that you enjoy using. It really doesn't matter what champion you play, as long as you play it well and play it consistently. Current bot lane best champion, as in Karma Graves, etc. Oh, you mean like pairings? Honestly, pretty much anything works. Jinx, Lucian, and Caitlyn are still kind of the top 3 AD carries. Twitch has made a massive comeback now that Leona isn't played as often, and now that Morgana is being played very, very commonly. Twitch, I would argue, is really powerful, like really, really good. People haven't learned to play against it yet, or have forgotten how to play against it, I should say. And because of that, he can be a very dominant force in solo queue. That being said, you really do need to pair him with a competent support, or you're just going to kind of find yourself falling apart and not really having much of an effect on the game. I really like Morgana with him because of the spell shield, because he doesn't have that much mobility, and the lockdown that Morgana can provide. 4.5 seconds of consistent CC. He only needs like 2.5 or so seconds to do an entire extended engage and pretty much burst anyone in the game. So I really like Twitch, but honestly, anything works bot lane. I would argue the best supports right now are Thresh, Morgana, and Karma. They sort of form the holy trinity of supports. Honestly, Leona, I think she's still strong. She's a good pick, but I don't see much reason to play her at the moment now that Morgana is considered so strong, and Thresh is considered so strong. Anyways, we have finished the picks and bans, so if you want to start going over those.
Sure. So, Blue Team has banned out Jax, Swain, and Kha'Zix. Jax and Kha'Zix I'm totally on board for. Swain I find a little confusing. I'm not sure if that was a target ban.
The mid laner on the other team is named I am Bruce Swain.
Ah, there we go. All right. And then we have Zed mid, Nasus top, Twitch and Nami bot lane, and Lee Sin in the jungle. Coffee Dave is a pretty, he plays Nami quite a bit in these workshops, so I'm excited to see how he does. And, like you said earlier, Twitch has been making a massive comeback, as well as Lee Sin in the jungle. Zed mid is a bit rarer than he used to be. He used to be a very strong and prolific mid pick. Not so much nowadays. As for Purple Team, they banned out Tryndamere, Soraka, and Udyr. So they went for the really annoying champs in the game right now. Not necessarily the strongest champs, but the ones that are the biggest pain in your butthole. And then they went with Kassadin mid, Aatrox top, Leona and Varus bot lane, and Rengar in the jungle.
I've actually seen some Rengar junglers coming back into play. I haven't seen it enough to really comment on it, to be perfectly honest. But I like the idea.
Bot lanes. I really like the synergy between Varus and Leona. That's something I used to do with a buddy. We would play that lane. And the level 6 engage is just very rude because there's essentially no escape. That being said, Varus does trade off lower mobility, which late game is going to be very problematic against a Zed, a Nasus, a Twitch, etc.
Yeah, honestly, I would expect Twitch to have the upper hand in that lane, assuming they can bait out the Leona Zenith Blade. If they do a level 1 engage, or if they do a level 2 engage, I would expect them to come out ahead on that. A quick bubble followed up by Twitch auto attacks followed by Expunge, which they changed the name, but I'm still going to call it Expunge. That would get him very low, and then he's not going to have the mobility to dodge out of any further engages. Nami's E on a Twitch is actually pretty damn potent because you have that extra slow, you have the extra damage, and Twitch needs to be able to stack auto attacks in order to really finish people off. So I like that combo. I'm just worried of how are they going to play versus Leona, and are they going to be able to bait out that engage?
Exactly. As for team fights, what Blue Team has a lot of initiation with Nami Bubble, Nami Ult, Lee Sin Q, Nasus E. So I really think Blue Team is not going to have trouble starting a fight and finishing a fight, as it were. I don't think they have any problems with initiation or mobility in team fights. That being said, Purple Team, when it comes to initiation, they have Varus Ult, which is a very finicky skill shot, and they have Leona E and Q combo. Rengar can, of course, jump in. I'm not 100% sure how good that is as a team fight initiation. I think he wants to save that for the middle or end of a fight. So I'm a little concerned about Purple Team's ability to start a fight if Leona ever misses her E. Once they have that primary initiation, they all have the tools to get into a fight and knock their team down. But when it comes to actually initiation and getting that first salvo in, little concerned about Purple Team.
I would actually disagree with that. Purple Team has a hell of a lot of hard engage. Oftentimes, especially in higher elo, you see Castans act as a hard engage, because they can ult in, use their E, and then Hourglass, and then their ults back up to get out if the fight goes south. I'm not saying that's how they're going to play this, but Leona can engage with her ultimate, Rengar can stealth in, Aatrox can jump in, Kassadin can jump in, Varus can use an ult. They have a lot of ways to make a fight happen, and as soon as they use those skills, they can all just sort of combo in and clean up the fight.
That's an excellent point that Kassadin can initiate, and it's something I did not consider because ultimately most mages struggle with that. Of course, Kassadin is not most mages right now, especially with the changes to his Q giving him a shield.
Yeah, what I've seen a lot of them do is they have Hourglass early, and then they have a decent amount of like he kind of plays as a mana tank. He has a lot of different build options, but I would like to see him picking someone off. Like let's say Twitch is ever out of position, he's going to jump on, slow him, auto attack if he has time, and then immediately Hourglass. There is no one on the enemy team who has targeted CC. They have a Lee Sin kick. Okay, well, he's safe. He's out of the fight now. They have a Nami bubble, which has so much wind-up time you're not going to hit it onto a Kassadin before he can Hourglass. And then they have a Nasa slow, which doesn't affect him from going into Hourglass. So they have no way to stop a hard engage, assuming they've already jumped in.
There's a couple of interesting summoner spells I want to talk about. First of all, we see Nasus top is taking heal teleport. Teleport's a very common option on Nasus. Heal, though, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, you see Nasus take Ghost occasionally. I feel like he's taking heal as it is a very useful spell right now for surviving, and it does give that little bit of mobility, but I'm not 100% sure that it is worth taking over a Flash or a Ghost in terms of just pure chase and escape potential.
Yeah, I really don't like having no mobility on him. I mean, he can make it work. If he gets one good gank with that teleport, it's all become worthwhile. But honestly, I would be more concerned with how he's going to keep in range and how he's going to be able to set up these withers. You need to be able to get a wither onto Aatrox or Varus or Rengar. Obviously, Rengar would be third priority. But if he can get a wither onto Aatrox or Varus, you've kind of won that fight, assuming the rest of your team can follow in. But if he's not able to get in range, if they're kiting around, I don't know. I just see him being a little bit kited based on the mobility, CC, and peel that Purple Team is breaking out.
Yes, Biller and Greed, I am a woman.
You're a real lady.
I am a classy broad, what can I say? As for Kassadin, I actually do like the teleport on him, and I like it for a few reasons. I like it because it gives him even more map-wide pressure mobility. I like it because barrier is not redundant, but when he has the shield on his Q, it's not as necessary. And I like it because he can get back to lane after being bullied out, which is extremely important against the Zed.
Yeah, it's a really good combo because he could run Ignite, but he doesn't have early game strength. So he's kind of waiting till 6 or a gank or a really opportune trade in order to get himself ahead. So Ignite isn't going to do anything for him. Heal is useful for the chase potential and the counter dive, essentially. But honestly, Teleport is just a really good pickup, and I would like to see more people picking it up, especially as a mid laner who focuses on roam. People like Kassadin, Katarina, Akali. I'm not saying that those champions should always run Teleport. I'm just saying they should keep it in the back of their mind as an option.
Right, especially now that teleport is 200 seconds when you go to a tower. When you're playing someone who gets bullied out of lane, it's so important that you don't miss wave after wave after wave, and teleport really helps with that.
Mm-hmm. Now, it looks like we're about to load in here. Hopefully, Twitch will be able to get in. I think we've pretty much talked about everything we can in terms of just like how they can play the stream. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. We've talked pretty much how they can sort of counter each other, how they can get ahead, and how the game will flow based on how far ahead or behind they fall. I think at this point, though, we should probably just sort of swap over and see how they actually play the early levels.
Oh shit, my fiance just bought me an omelet.
Tell him I hate him.
You jelly.
So jealous. Actually, I'm not really, because I don't like omelets.
Well, I could have had waffles. I made a choice.
If he made me a fancy crepe, then I would be jealous. Or made you a fancy crepe instead of me, then I'd be jealous.
This is just a prime example of crepe culture. So starting picks, we see Kassadin has a Flask, and again, that's a pick I really like. Flask seems to be a popular pick for top laners. You don't see all the mid laners take it, but I like it. It gives him wiggle room in lane. It gives him the chance to stay in lane, even if he gets bullied by Zed. seen Doran's Blade on Aatrox and Varus. Leona has Targon's Brace, and I have a feeling you are not a fan of that.
I really dislike both of the support starts, to be honest. On Leona's side, okay, Tarragon's is a fine item on Leona. Build it if you want. But having a Ruby Crystal at level 1 is going to give you fantastic early trading potential just because of the flat health and the extra gold you have. Sorry, not extra gold. But the combination of going Tarragon's and Ward means that she only has 2 potions. So if she falls behind in a trade, it's pretty hard for her to get back into play. I would have liked to see a Ruby Crystal and then potions. That's my preferred start on a tanky support like Thresh and Leona. It's a fine option for her. It's okay. It just isn't what I prefer. That being said, on Nami, if I was going Nami, I first of all would not have skilled right at level 1. I'd wait and see how the lane goes. I also would probably be going 3 health potions, 1 mana potion, and a Spell Thief's Edge. Personally, that's my preferred start on Nami at the moment, but either of them are decent options. I would like to point out that mid lane is going to be interesting to watch, just because Zed is going a very offensive start with that Doran's Blade. He should win in terms of early trading potential, and Kassadin's Magic Shield isn't going to affect him. So we really need to see how aggressively he plays this, and how much he's able to really bully out Kassadin and have an effect on this game.
In my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but wards aren't as important in like the very, very early stages of the game as they used to because of the rise of summoner heal. The speed boost, especially when both people take it, essentially means it's very difficult to do early ganks, especially when junglers really focus on shutting down top and mid nowadays, it seems like.
Oh, very nice Zenith Blade bot. Actually bypasses Nami, goes directly onto Twitch. The exhaust goes down as well as a stun, but they're not going to be able to make anything happen. And this is why I feel that Leona is a little bit mediocre in solo queue right now. As you were just mentioning, with the summoner changes, with exhaust being buffed and with heal being buffed, early kills just aren't so much a thing anymore. I mean, yes, you do get them, but they're so much more rare than they used to be. It used to be a good level to engage, boom, first blood, let's snowball off that, and just really set up the pressure for the lane. That was a beautiful engage, but really nothing came from it. There's still heal up on Nami, and they just potion back, they're both full health. But yes, I do agree with you in that early wards are slightly less important than they used to be. That was more true when Feral Flare was so strong. Now that characters like Elise, Lee Sin, and a few other early gankers are being played more again, it's a little bit more relevant to have those early wards. But yeah, with Summoner Heal, with farming junglers, that sort of stuff, early ganks just weren't as common. So top lane, there's a lot of damage traded. We actually see Nasus going essentially as well as coming up behind in these trades. So that's going to give Aatrox a lot of free farm up here, and I would expect him to be about a level and a half ahead of Nasus by the time he teleports back in. I'm assuming he's going to teleport so he doesn't miss this farm.
I'm actually not sure if Nasus should have gone back and then teleported back in, just because that would be, he's missing some farm, and when you're Nasus, every Q counts. Q is so dang cheap, even when your mana bar is not empty, you can still cast it, and it's only, Aatrox is level 4, he was not going to dive.
I unfortunately missed the trade mid lane that caused Zed to be this low. I'm not sure if he took tower shots or what, because I would not expect Kassadin to be able to bully him this much. That being said, I'm a little bit concerned with his decision to stay. Kassadin, not close to level 6 yet, but I mean, if he uses his W on some minions, gets a little bit of extra mana, not mania, a QE combo would be enough to finish off this kill. Lee Sin does come in for the quick little gank. Good slow to lead things off, follows with the Q, gets the flash. Good gank there. Not rushed, just very good execution.
It's really important to remember that a kill is not the only reason to gank. Sometimes you just want to show your face and be like, don't forget I exist. Other times you just want to blow a summoner and give your laner an easier time. Whenever people dive or go full ham trying to get that kill, I'm not a huge fan of that. Aatrox up top puts a lot of damage onto Nasus. Nasus is able to escape with his innate tankiness. He's just getting bullied ridiculously hard, and I think Lee Sin needs to give his top laner a hand right now. This is, he's about 10 farm behind, and he's just getting bullied. He has no teleport. He's in a real pickle right now.
Yeah, they need to help stall that lane out so that he can get to a stage where he can just sort of passively free farm. Now, I would like to also compliment Leona. She's landing some really good engages here and landing a lot of pain onto Twitch. If they get one more solid engage, I think they could land a kill. Heal is blown. Exhaust is up, though. I don't know. I think they could land it. It would be a little bit close, though.
Mid lane, Kassadin almost gets a kill, except he cues a minion instead of Zed. Earlier you said, I don't understand how Kassadin can bully down Zed so hard, but I just saw it with my own eyes. That is Kassadin. That's not the tower. Kassadin is just laying down major pain onto Zed.
That's rather impressive. I mean, the only reason I would expect it to go that one-sided is if Zed is eating empowered Ws, whatever they're called, the W from Kassadin. I mean, it does a lot of damage if you're trying to trade with him in melee range. Now, just a quick note for bot lane, which I completely forgot, so I'm going to pretend I didn't say anything.
So right now, purple team on bot lane is kind of winning a war of attrition. They go in, they put down a lot of harass, and then they walk out. And they're not blowing, you know, that many summoners. After the first engage, I think they kind of realize their limitation. So Nami and Twitch just kind of get chipped down on health, they get chipped down on mana, and Varus and Leona are able to sort of control the lane that way.
There's a good roam attempt coming out from Kassadin. Right as he hit level 6, he tried to go bot lane for a kill. He didn't really lose any CS here. If I was playing Zed here, I would be trying to, first of all, call that for my team as soon as possible, and then try and shove in as quickly as I can so that Kassadin misses out on some CS and some experience by leaving lane. Obviously, that's not going to happen every single time, but if you can make that small advantage for yourself, it gets some damage on the tower and it denies minions. That you're at least accomplishing something.
So right now, Aatrox, every time he shoves Nasus out of lane, he starts attacking the tower. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure that's the best course of action. When he takes down the tower, now Nasus has more kind of safety. He can farm closer to his base. There's more room for the jungler to navigate around for a gank. And Aatrox just has such a lead. He's almost 20 CS up right now. He hasn't even gone back for items. And every time Nasus sort of steps out from beneath his tower, Aatrox just lays so much pain onto him that I think he wants to keep the situation going for as long as possible. I don't think he wants to take the tower and give Nasus some more flexibility.
Yeah, if I were him, I would probably be trying to get some wards into the enemy jungle so that if, let's say, Nasus does leave, you can take away some buffs, you can take away white, and then just start proxy farm. Make the tower kill off as many minions as possible. We see first blood going down bot lane. Great kill onto Nami. From what I saw, it was the Varus ult, as soon as he hit level 6, comboed in, boom, free kill.
Right, like I said earlier, you have this amazing lockdown potential when both Varus and Leona hit 6, assuming Varus hits his ult, which this Varus did, and then Rengar just comes around to mop up anyone who escapes. It was quite the decent combo. Meanwhile, on top lane, Aatrox just picks up a kill on Lee Sin, picks up a kill on Nasus as well, gets to double. Lee Sin did make the right choice in coming up, but he should have done that quite earlier, and he should have been, he was pretty greedy for the kill right there when Aatrox has so much innate sustain.
Now I would like to point out, though, that was a very weird play. Aatrox got incredibly out of position. He could have landed a lot more damage before his revive passive got popped, and then he just sort of stood there, died, and then he comboed very, very nicely after the death. But if I were him, I would have tried to lay down a little bit more pain before that passive was blown, so that would have been a much more one-sided fight in his favor. It's possible he was trying to bait it that much stronger, but that was incredibly close. If blue team had comboed that just slightly better, Aatrox would have died.
So this is a really common situation in solo queue, so I think it'll make for a great teaching experience. You have top lane, two kills up, 10 farm up, so he has about a 900, 1,000 gold advantage, I believe, over Nasus. You know, Lee Sin ganked, he died. Now, what is to be done about Aatrox? I think that, for instance, Zed might be able to come up with Lee Sin, do a 3-man gank. What other options would you recommend to blue team in this case?
Sorry, I was actually typing at the moment. You were talking about options for blue team to get back into the game, correct?
Against Aatrox specifically.
Yeah. Aatrox, to be honest, sort of takes care of himself come late game. Actually, very good pick coming out from Lee Sin, but they focus onto Leona. That's not the target you want to go onto. if he was a very good bubble, so they are going to get the kill in the end, but honestly, they should have been focusing a little bit more on making sure they get the right target. Rengar comes in with a fantastic counter gank and lands the double kill. This should now be a triple kill. Very good timing and well-executed gank coming out from Rengar. Oh, unfortunately, he's not able to connect with the final skills, so Nami just walks away.
Nami needs to go back. I think she's like, I'm gonna save the tower, but here comes Kassadin.
Yeah, she's trying to go back, but it was a little slow on that. Looks like Kassadin's not going to have vision. If I was Kassadin, try and drop a trinket ward over so that you can see where they're positioning and set up that kill for yourself. Also,
Right.
I would have cleared that pink ward on the way out.
I'm not sure if Nami was typing or if she had a glimmer of idea to defend the tower, but she should have gone back ASAP. She also might have wanted to go farther back into the lane, like into the bush by the inner turret, so that she's less easy to gank against such a highly mobile team.
Now, Yo was mentioning in chat that Rengar should have used the bushes to sort of get in range and stick to targets. Completely agree with that. Abusing Rengar's passive is one of the best ways to get ahead with him. And while that was well executed, he set up a really nicely timed counter gank. That should have been an easy triple kill for him. And just abusing the bushes a little bit more to maintain proper positioning would have made that so much easier on his part.
Oh, what's this? We have a Rengar main in chat. Hello, the Hague. I'm here to report a war criminal. So blue team is in a little bit of a pickle right now. It's 12 minutes. They have about a 3-4k gold deficit. What sort of actions can they take to get ahead? For one thing, they don't have that many wards down. They do have a pink ward in the tri-bush at bottom. They have a bush in the, a ward in one of the bushes above Dragon. Other than that, their vision is kind of lacking. Meanwhile, purple does have a little bit more. They have their blue covered. They have top covered. They have a pink in the dragon bush and so on. So I think blue team needs to step up their vision game first and foremost, especially against the Kassadin and Rengar combo.
Yeah, they need to not only get their own vision, but they really need to shut down purples. If they're giving this much vision to purple team, there's nothing to stop them from catching you out. Every time you try and take a jungle camp, cycle between lanes, take an objective, they're going to have pretty much full vision on you, and they're just going to collapse and get a free kill, because as we mentioned earlier, they have such good lockdown potential.
Whenever I see a ADC or a mid who doesn't buy wards because I am the carry and I need gold, I just start crying like little kid tears, because wards are so important and they're an investment. If you don't die because you warded, or you get a kill because you warded, you just traded 75 gold for 300 gold. And there's no universe in which that is not totally worth it.
I'm very sad with this bot lane. They're not communicating as they need to, and they just gave up a completely free double kill. So the play that happened here is that Kassadin's in behind. You're then not pushing tower, so that gank is essentially wasted. The second misplay is that Twitch walks in, goes onto Leona, and Varus runs away. They could have just 3-man jumped onto Twitch as soon as he came out of stealth, locked him down, boom, free kill. Then you can cycle onto either Nami or retreat based on how the fight itself went.
3-man on Twitch? I've read that fanfiction.
Haven't we all? So, here comes Lee Sin with another counter gank. He's not able to quite connect, and so they're pretty much just going to go their separate ways.
I feel like the common theme in Lee Sin's plays this game is a little bit too little, too late. He has the not Spectral, right? He has the Elder Lizard jungle item, so, you know, he has a good offensive start. It's just he's never really there when the shit is going down. And he's not even there to mop up afterwards. He's just not, he just seems a little behind the game right now, unfortunately.
Now, I would like to compliment the Zenith Blades here. They're connecting quite nicely. She definitely knows the ranges and is doing a good job of getting these lockdowns. Unfortunately, she's just not communicating it well enough with her team in order to turn these well-executed skill shots into guaranteed advantages for her team. Now, again, we see Aatrox just absolutely steamrolling this top lane. He's taken the tower. He is now 3-0-0. And looks like he should be finishing up his Blade of the Ring King on this back.
Have you ever noticed it looks like Aatrox's default skin, he's wearing lipstick?
I did not notice that, but that adds 17 new dimensions to his character.
You'll basically never be able to unsee it now. Like, it looks like he's wearing just a stick of just beautiful siren red lipstick. So I want to point out something Zed said in all chat. He said, I thought that new Kassadin had less burst. And I'm not picking on Zed here. I'm not saying he's a silly Billy. But that's a really common thing. A character gets reworked, a character gets nerfed, and so on. Ooh, good ult from Nami. Not enough, unfortunately, to save Twitch. But people will say, you know, a character will get nerfed, a character will get reworked, and, you know, the peanut gallery will go, this character is now worthless, GG. It's really important to never really underestimate your enemy. Once you see that they're capable of burst, you should treat them accordingly. Saying, you know, but I thought this character was weak because of nerfs really doesn't get you anywhere. You should sort of kind of ignore the public opinion on champs.
Yeah, if you're taking your balancing suggestions from general discussion, you're doing it wrong. Like, the place is so filled with trolls that you see, okay. To be fair, yes, they increased the counterplay to Caston by removing his silence. But in compensation, they gave him better scaling and better burst when in melee range. His problem was that he harassed too well from a high range, and there wasn't a long enough period of counterplay in order to make it really justifiable of his level of strength. So they sort of left his strength where it was, increased his burst when in low range, decreased his burst when in high range, like his poke potential from his Q, and then essentially gave him more counterplay by removing his silence. Again, I'm sure someone who's played more Caston than me could elaborate on that, but that's my understanding of the balance changes and the little bit that I've seen of him in solo queue. Aatrox is going a little bit cocky here. He may be... Zed needs to back out.
The revive passive, no, it's not enough to take down both Lee Sin and Zed, but he does get a revenge kill.
Yeah, Zed should not have stayed in range there. He could have dropped his shadow on the revive passive, and then EQ, I believe it's EQ, whatever, his spinning slash and his shurikens. He could have thrown those from range. That way Aatrox isn't going to just be auto-attacking you the entire time right after he revives. You still would have got the kill, and you would not have died in the process.
So blue team is getting a few wards down, but again, I'd like to see more wards in the jungle. I'd like to see the buffs being covered. For instance, if you ward the red bush, that gives you a really good idea about who's coming bottom, because that's one of the main choke points. They do have enemy blue cover, which is good, and they have improved their warding significantly from further on. I think there's a few graphs online that show you like the optimal places to ward. That's generally good reading material.
Yeah, blue team has definitely added some wards to their jungle, but they're just, I don't know, they're having issues with how they're cycling between lanes, how they're sort of estimating the threat of the enemy team, and just how they're focusing. I mean, they do have ways to pick off targets. It's just they need to be all on the same page, and they need to execute it essentially perfectly when this far behind.
Like you said earlier, Nami can land amazing bubbles, but Kassadin's insta-blink means he just can't be locked down by them.
I would have liked to see them going with something a little bit more reliable versus such a mobile team.
Right. Honestly,
coming in
against
from the
this
side.
team, Ajana might have been an excellent choice as her Monsoonist instacast and could really help peel off squishies.
Yes, but I would have then liked to see some other form of lockdown on the rest of the team. Because yes, you are correct, there's a hell of a lot of dive coming out from purple team. They all kind of want to jump on your face and pick up 3 kills. Rengar going very ham, able to pick up a lot. Casson, I believe, wastes... Okay, no, he didn't waste his flash. Anyways, they pick up Nami for free, and Zed is now completely caught out. Good focus and good decision to go directly onto him, but he does escape with a quick flash.
Pro, don't ever contradict me in front of the children again. We need to provide a united front.
Never. I will not unite with your front.
Wink.
But yeah, I do agree, versus such a heavy dive team, something like a Janna would work. But if you don't have any lockdown or initiation, they're going to essentially have the same problem that they have right now. They can maybe survive perfectly fine, but as soon as they get engaged on, okay, disengage, well, how do we now get an advantage? We can't re-engage. We can't catch anyone out, lock them down, and finish them off before the rest of their team shows up.
So, blue team, their strategy right now needs to be Zed and Nasus are both extremely potent late game champs. So if they had a late game strategy, they really need to be getting Nasus farm, and they need to be getting Zed fed. And neither of those things are really happening on either scale. Nasus has about 261 stacks, which I believe is not terrible.
It's pretty mediocre. Like,
it's not like piss poor, but it's not fantastic. Like, no one's writing home about that. And Zed is 202, 130 farm. So right now they're sort of playing in a very reactive way, Blue Team. They're not really making any strides towards a late game goal. They're just simply getting caught out and murdered repeatedly. They don't really have a strategy beyond that, it seems like.
I really want to see Twitch picking up farm somewhere. We didn't really comment on the farm in the lanes, but he is 68 CS to 132. He does not have a single item completed. So, first of all, he needs to work on his last hitting in lane. I understand that there was a lot of pressure coming out from Leona, but there's no reason to be 60 farm 22 minutes into a game.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
Generally, when you're behind, it's really easy to sort of shut down, and you kind of go into two states. You either go hyper-aggressive, because you're like, fuck it, what do I have to lose? I'm gonna dive 1v5, if I get a kill, awesome. Or you go way too passive, you're afraid of dying, you don't really make any initiative. Generally, when you're behind, there's something that you can do. You can say, what is my end goal? So I'm Twitch. I need to be putting sustained damage into their team while staying safe. How can I do that? Well, I need these items. How do I get these items? I do lots of farm, for instance. And sort of that, you sort of tunnel vision on that goal and sort of just try to achieve your late game purpose.
Now that being said, I do want to compliment Purple Team. They're setting up a lot of really good deep wards into the enemy jungle and setting up huge picks and huge advantages for themselves. Fortunately, that dive was a little bit much, but a good focus on objectives as well. I'm just really happy with how well Purple Team is playing as a team, where they're just sort of sticking together, they're setting up what they need to.
Right, they're not playing as a collection of individuals. They are moving together, they're taking objectives, one person split pushes, the rest of the team reacts appropriately, etc.
Why did Rengar go in first? Miscommunication on their part.
Why did the Rengar cross the road?
So that he could assassinate all the squishies.
Yeah, pretty much. The Rengar skin looks a little bit goofy, unfortunately.
The new one?
Like Night Hunter?
Yeah,
or whatever.
I don't know. He's kind of blue.
What Purple Team needs to do is they sort of just need to cement their win. They need to, like, push towers. They need to continue to catch Blue Team out. Generally, they're playing pretty much exactly how they need to. It's extremely difficult to win a game in 23 minutes, unless, you know, it's an extremely one-sided game.
We've mentioned split pushing a few times in our workshops, but at this stage of the game, I really want to reinforce that suggestion that they should be probably either forcing Baron or doing a 4-1 split. Aatrox has already proven that he can fight at least two of the enemy team. So if he is able to bring people top lane, okay, well, the rest of you take mid or bot tower. Okay, they don't send anyone top. Aatrox can take towers very quickly, and he has a number of escape abilities between his passive, his jump, his slow. He has a lot of options for escapes. So I really want to see them setting that up. They're about 13-ish thousand gold ahead right now, so forcing a Baron would be a fantastic decision on their part. But if they don't want the Baron, if they don't want to risk the Baron throws, then I would like to see that split push happening.
And we're seeing that bot right now where I Am Bruce Wayne takes the tower and seems to be going for the inhib if they don't stop him. Blue Team is going, it looks like they're sending all 5 members after Kassadin, but I don't understand why you would do that when Kassadin is the most mobile champion in the game.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to catch him.
Now we have Varus and Leona and Rengar making their own advances, so it seems as though they are following your advice quite well.
I would like to see Varus continuing to push top lane. The Purple Team is a little bit split right now, so trying to focus in and collapse for this team fight is a little bit questionable. They could have taken probably the top inhib during this time, and they probably could have just used Leona as bait and sacrificed her. In the meantime, though, they probably are going to just clean up this fight. I mean, that's a good option as well, but you can see just by how low Purple Team got, that just slightly better execution from Blue Team and or slightly worse communication and reaction time from Purple Team could have caught them out and could have caused that fight to go in a different direction.
Right, basically they're so far ahead that even when they make mistakes like that, they're able to come out ahead without any real concerns. Looks like Purple Team is now going for Baron.
Yeah, they seem a little low for Baron. I mean, they can do it. It's not that big a risk. But I would have liked to see heal, final buy, and then rush it. Because if the enemy team tries to fight you, well, you just win the game because you just aced them.
I suspect Leona's about to die to Baron.
Yep. She standed in the goop.
If you learned anything from World of Warcraft, don't stand in the shit.
It's so true. Every time I healed, it was just like, oh my god, stop standing in the goddamn fire.
That's 50 DKB minus.
I'll be right under.
So Blue Team did really step up their war game, but unfortunately they didn't really take advantage of their late game comp. Twitch has 76 farm, Nasus has 157 farm. You know, those are not fantastic numbers, especially for Twitch, unfortunately. And without the gold, they're simply unable to leverage any advantages into the late game.
For sure. I mean, it might be a different story if Twitch was able to finish his IE and Nasus had been able to farm a few more Q stacks. I mean, they could definitely set up a fight just off of those two things alone. And that's not to make fun of them or pick on them, but for example, Zed, he had a rough lane. He didn't do amazingly, but he's at least somewhat even with Kassadin, so he's still a relevant factor. Unfortunately, though, at this stage of the game, Twitch has no way to contribute to these team fights. Nasus is in pretty much a similar boat. Not his Guardian Angel, oh my god. His Spirit Visage or his Banshee's Veil is not finished, whichever he's building that into. His Iceborne Gauntlet's not finished, he has Iceborne Gauntlet and Glacial Stretch, so he's going for a, what is it even called?
Words are hard.
Words are very, very hard sometimes.
That's why
Frozen
I paid
Heart, that's the word.
$40,000 for a writing degree, so that words aren't hard for me. You should do the same thing. Good investment.
Maybe someday. So Kassadin able to clean up a very quick kill onto Nami. Disengage just not going to happen here. I would expect this to be the end of the game. They're able to pick up a lot of kills. Great engage coming in, re-engage coming in from Aatrox. Able to knock out Twitch, clean him up very quickly. This is going to be a very quick inhibitor. They have about 30 seconds on the core members of the enemy team. I want to see them just push in and end. I mean, they can tank the tower if they really need to.
And here comes Aatrox. He has his passive, so he's totally unafraid to take tower shots. They're just cleaning up minions, waiting for the minion wave, and it looks like they're going to end it. So props to Purple Team for ending the game. Like, I want to kiss you all on the mouth for that.
Is there anyone you don't want to kiss on the mouse?
The guy who plays Thor. I don't really... he looks like a potato.
Fair enough. Hey, so very good job, everyone. We're going to go over final builds, a couple other pieces of advice. Unfortunately, that game snowballed very early in the game, so it was a little bit difficult to offer more specific advice, but we'll do what we can. Okay, swap over... Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go.
With Nami's items, she may have wanted to start with Spellthieves Edge for the poke gold. Talisman has a fantastic endgame active. I'm not sure if it's worth starting with an ancient coin, though, as you mentioned previously. Other than that, items are fine. No real complaints. I do like the Mikhails. Nasus, like we discussed earlier, he needed to... the Iceborne was kind of overkill with Glacial Shroud. He should have finished his Spectre's Cowl item. Zed, I don't really have any complaints, personally. Twitch, I'm not sure what I think about the Blade of the Ruined King. I think a Bloodthirster would be superior. Am I wrong?
No, Blade of the Ruined King is core on Twitch because he functions as an assassin. His core gameplay style at the moment is he stealths on top of you, uses Blade of the Ruined King, and essentially one-shots you.
You learn something new every day.
For sure.
Lee Sin, what do you think about Elder Lizard on Lee Sin?
It's what he builds.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't play Lee Sin, so...
Well, if you're going for a somewhat damage-related Lee Sin, the early game strength from Lizard Elder is able to set you ahead with your early gank potential, and then he usually transitions into a tank, and that's pretty much what he aimed for there. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to be executed to perfection, but I mean, he did what he could. I might have liked to see something like a Tiamat on him, just that one extra damage item and a little bit stronger early game play could have set him very far ahead.
For Varus, the one complaint I have is Fur enchant on his boots. What single target spell does Varus have that would activate Fur?
Yeah, he's using it for his auto attacks, which I personally don't agree with.
Yeah, not a big fan of that. I think it's good on Quinn, it's good on Katarina. Varus, not so much. Aatrox, no complaints. Cassidon, no complaints. Leona, we talked about the starting item she had. I also think I would prefer cooldown boots over boots of swiftness.
Yeah, Boots of Swiftness, there's a decent number of slows on the enemy team, but honestly, I would either go Boots 5 if you're roaming and trying to set up plays across the map, or I would probably go Ninja Tabby if you're dealing with a lot of auto attackers on the enemy team, which you definitely are. Or you can also go Merc Treads, but it's usually less common on Leona. I wouldn't have minded seeing like a Sunfire on her, but like the Randuin's is a great option. It's a really good item on Leona. But yeah, overall, her build, I don't see anything really wrong with it.
For MVPs, I can't call an MVP for a purple team. They all